On this episode of the AAF Exchange, the administration takes equity stakes in private firms, CMS releases its latest drug price fixing list, and AAF introduces RegRodeo 2.0. Joining us to discuss all of this is AAF's President Douglas Holtz-Eakin and AAF Director of Regulatory Policy Dan Goldbeck. Doug, thanks for joining us.
I am delighted to be here.
You know, this is our second to last podcast of the year, so it's been a fun year again.
How should I feel about that?
I don't know. I mean, it's been, we've had some ups and...
We have?
Yeah, I guess so.
I don't remember that.
I'm trying to remember them too, and it's not... We talk sports.
It is uniformly up.
Yeah. Anytime we talk sports, that's the up.
Yeah, and it gets edited out anyway.
Yeah. I know, all the time. Anyways, what's been on your mind?
Well, as you know, I'm obsessing with the Treasury Department writing tax rules about pornography, and this is not a cheap attempt for publicity. This is actually something that's going on, and the genesis of this, of course, is the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, which included no tax on tips, thereby breaking a cardinal rule of tax policy, which says if you have two sources of return to labor, wages and tips, they should be treated the same for tax purposes. We're treating them differently, and that gives an incentive for everyone to be paid in tips. And so now you have to write rules on what constitutes legitimate tip income and not legitimate tip income. So off they go to write rules. They came up with 70-odd occupations which get tipped, including digital content creators, by the way. So this is digital content. And it dawned on me that you might be a tip candidate, and I could pay you only tips, which would be, of course, an abuse of the tax code. And this is the issue. So they have digital content creators, they have entertainers, dancers, and then, of course, the alarm bells start going off. Oh, my God, we can't give a tax break to people providing pornography. So the pole dancers count. I mean, strippers. You know, it leads you down a path no one wants to go because they're now breaking cardinal rule number 2, which is don't use the tax code to enforce social mores. Use the tax code to raise revenue. Mm-hmm. But off they're going. So we're writing stupid tax rules based on stupid tax policy and the misuse of the tax code. Other than that, I'm perfectly happy about it.
Yeah, I mean this is something that happens a lot where you know you have these, as you said, to quote you, stupid policies, and then you compound it with stupid regulations and things like that.
Yeah, if you write good laws, you'll get good regs. You write bad laws, you start writing bad regs. And here we go.
Well, yeah, like you said, again, it's an eye-catching headline, but there's a serious point behind it, and it's one that...
And there's a frustration I have with it, which is, you know, when we try to have a tax code that is, say, for example, pro-growth, supports saving, investment, work, innovation, people say, oh, people don't respond to that stuff. People don't respond to the tax code. But if we want to get rid of pornography, they'll respond to the tax code. Well, you don't get it both ways. People either respond or they don't.
Right. All right, well, let's move on.
Okay, we'll move on.
So among the many mysteries of President Trump's economic policy is the administration's move to take an equity stake in private firms.
Yeah.
What exactly is going on here?
I don't know, which is why I wanted to talk about it.
Yeah.
They have taken equity stakes in lots of companies. I can no longer count them all. We know Intel was one of the original ones. The rare earths mine out in California, MP Minerals, and then you go down the list. They've continued to take them. The Nippon Golden Shares is a big example. And now, most recently, they've announced they want to own 10 nuclear power plants. And so the question that I have, because no one has bothered to enunciate an explanation for this in the administration, is what does the ownership accomplish? So if you take the rare earths, the Defense Department needs to have rare earths. Okay, fine. They have in this deal agreed to buy the next 10 years worth of the output of the rare earths mine. And they agreed to pay a premium price for it. So that's it. They've now secured the rare earths. Why do they also have to have a majority stake in the mine? What do they get with a majority stake in Intel? And why do we have to own the nuclear power plants? We intervene a lot to support nuclear power. We give them liability protections. We've given them loan guarantees. Why the equity stakes? Why the ownership return? And part of it could just be, oh, cool, we're going to get some money back on it. We're great investors, but I don't buy that for a second, because from an economics point of view, one of the things we're doing here is we are basically exposing the taxpayer to risk involuntarily. If they wanted the risk of nuclear power, they could go buy publicly traded utility stocks and expose themselves to that risk. If they wanted rare earth risk, they could do that. But who gives up an equity stake? Probably a company that's not able to go to the markets and raise much money. So we're collecting the worst of the worst with our equity stakes and likely exposing the taxpayer to downside risk more than upside.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, I used to compare it to like picking winners and losers, like we did with like Solyndra with tax credits and loans. But then you made a point yesterday. Yeah, we've done tax credits and loans and forever. This is something completely.
Yes.
This is taking it to the next level.
Yeah, this is not picking winners and losers. This is picking losers.
Yeah.
Great.
And by the way, the American taxpayer is on the hook for
Absolutely.
As
Absolutely.
well.
Yep.
That begs the question.
And while I'm whining about this, which I do so well, there is a question as to, like, in the budget process, which we used to actually believe in, why do they have the cash lying around to take these equity stakes? Did Congress appropriate money for purposes of nationalizing the private sector? I don't think so.
Yeah.
So the abuses here, soft or real, are really, troubling to me.
Yeah, so this all begs the question, what are those economic and policy implications of the federal government doing this?
Well, I think you have the ones I've mentioned already. You can lose taxpayer money. That's a risk we're exposed to. You nationalize firms. That's all this is. So this is the Mondami initiative at the federal level. And I don't understand why you would violate a long, relatively sacrosanct principle where you let the private sector do its very best to deliver goods and services, and if you, the government, need a particular mix of them, you contract to acquire them. That's it. I don't understand it.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, I know this is gonna. I know where this question is going to go, but is there a clear objective behind these ownership stakes, and if so, what is it?
There's not, and I think one of the frustrations I have with the Trump administration is there is no attempt to clearly articulate the objectives, the sort of strategy that would support reaching those objectives, and then the day-to-day tactics that you might have. All we see are tactics, and we try to infer from that what is the strategy and what are the objectives. It'd be nice if we didn't have to guess. It is the United States. We are, in fact, the voters who elect people. We have a right to know these things.
Yeah, and that's why the title of this is sort of the mysteries of the Trump administration. Economic policy. Anyways, turning to drug pricing, the administration dropped the second round of the maximum fair price results on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
What is the deal with that?
I mean, I don't know.
It's a way to ruin my holiday because we have to read the report and write something about it, and that's fine. I'm happy to have my holiday ruined.
Yeah, I'm sure Beth and the grandkids are very happy with that.
I'm a masochist. They understand it. But there's this is the Inflation Reduction Act, which set up this process, which they label negotiation, but which I refuse to use that word, whereby the CMS selects drugs, and they select the drugs 10 last year, 15 this year, on the basis of Part B and D spending. So what do we spend a lot of money on? And then they have a statutory limit, some price fixing in law, and how high the price can be. Then they go to the firms and say, we need a lower price, we want X. If they don't agree to X, we can tax you basically at an exorbitant rate, just confiscate your taxes, or borrow your products from Medicare. The companies are just, basically at the mercy of this process. And so they announce the results of it. The process bothers me on the merits. The outcomes, I think, have some bad implications. We've already seen, for example, big abandonment of oncology drug development because of this. So what do we get? First thing to note is, as was true last year, there are some high-priced drugs that you can understand why they get attention. $21,000 for a dose of cancer treatment. It's a lot of money. Mm-hmm. But there's also, $400 for asthma and chronic pulmonary disease. So That's not exactly but a lot of people have that, so there's a lot of spending on it. Both are in there, and everything in between. So the right way to think about it is you have some genuinely high-priced things, and then you have some politically attractive things, including the GLP-1s, right? They went for, the president calls them the fat drug, and he wanted them in there, so Ozempic's in the mix and the rest. So that's who's in there. But then the second thing that has struck me last year, struck me again this year, is in the private sector, there's negotiation over prices of drugs, and the mechanism for lowering the price is the rebate. So there's the list price and then the net price after the rebate. And the Part D program was set up to be built on those private negotiations. And last year, that private negotiation lowered the price paid by consumers by a greater percentage amount than did the IRA provisions, which took the net price down even further. So this year I checked again. We only have data on 14 of the 15 drugs. But in 10 of the cases, the private sector negotiation had a bigger impact than did the IRA provisions that brought it down further. So what this says to me is that the bottom line is this is, a reaffirmation of the basic principle of the Part D program. We should just go back to its original configuration, get this interference out, and let the negotiations go forward.
Yeah, so I remember back when we did it, when the first wave came out, we did like a side-by-side comparison table, and it really stuck out. It really showed how much better the private sector was at negotiating these drugs.
And the bottom line is, if you have a high price problem, a price control doesn't solve anything, but more supply does. And if you can use the power of the private sector and market dynamics to lower prices, you're way better off.
There you go. You economists and your supply and demand again.
Weirdly, it sticks around because it works.
All right. So yeah, but what about thinking down the road, long-term effects? What effects could this top-down pricing have on drug development, formularies, patients' access down the line?
Man, you go down the list. I mean, everyone hates the high drug prices. Agreed. I have no reason to disagree with that. But the revenue does go someplace, and it goes into drug development, and drug development's an extraordinarily expensive and risky proposition. Only one of 100 drugs that gets even to a clinical trial ends up being commercially marketed. So if you start taking the revenue out of the ones that make it over the finish line, you're not going to fund drug development. And we're already seeing an abandonment of a lot of lines of research and development since the passage of the IRA. I mean, that you can just see it coming that you're not going to get the money, so the R&D is going to go elsewhere. There's no question about that. And that means the cures and therapies that we benefit so much from go elsewhere. And so while we're focusing on the cost, there are benefits that out there that have made this worth it, and they're going to go away. It's going to interfere with everything, though. It's not just the brand name drugs. Those brand name drugs are also future generics. Those are going to go away. And people forget about the fact that 90-odd% of prescriptions in the United States are generics, and we have the cheapest generics on the planet. So everyone wants to focus on this little corner of the problem and beat it up, but they're messing with the thing that we really benefit from the most.
Yeah, interesting. Well, it's time for the return of a trivia question. We haven't done one in a very long time.
Okay.
And, as I was writing this, I almost left it out again, and then I was like, no, we have to do it again.
No, it's very important to embarrass me, so go. Yeah.
And by the way, I had something that was supposed to be harder in here, and then Angela went in and said, no, that he won't get that. So
I pay her well. This is good. Excellent.
So your comms team saved you again. Since the turn of the century, the inflation-adjusted average annual cost of higher education has increased by A, 20%, B, 32%, or C, 38%.
C, 38%.
Yeah.
Yeah, no question.
Yeah. See, that was too easy. She gave you multiple guesses.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like that trivia question.
No more multiple guesses for you.
Here's a trivia question. Which trivia question have I liked this year? That one.
No, I think it's the one that you got me on. That you turned the tables and asked me about it. Anyways,
fair enough.
I mean, that's an astonishing number.
It is
for higher education.
Inflation adjusted.
Yeah.
Right.
That's mind blowing.
Well, these numbers always get our attention, but they never get solved, and I couldn't figure out why. And I finally just came around to the conclusion that at any point in time, there's a select subset of Americans who are bearing the cost of this. They have kids who are in school for a window, and they pay these costs, but there's never the majority of the country at any single time forking. It's not like eggs.
Yeah.
Eggs get expensive. Everybody gets, gasoline. Everyone gets hit. So this just doesn't get solved.
Yeah, I wonder. I've never thought about that before. You have your kids go through for that 4-year period, maybe extra 2-3 years, but then the
bleeding's over. Yes.
Yeah. You pay your loan, you're done.
There were many happy days in my life. Among the happiest was when the youngest walked out of college.
Interesting. Well, it's time to bring in Dan and we're going to talk some RegRodeos, which obviously is a very exciting announcement from us. So, I look forward to not only that, to the final podcast next time. Yes, yeah, where I'm probably going to ask you what you're going to expect in 2026, and it's going to be a lot of fun, I'm sure.
Look
a lot
forward
more
to
fun.
It.
Dan, welcome back.
Hey, thanks for having me.
It's been It's been a fun couple of months for the both of us, but we have an exciting announcement today. This week, we launched RegRodeo 2.0.
Yeah.
For those who might not be familiar, but let's take a step back and for those who might not be familiar, what is RegRodeo?
So yeah, RegRodeo is our ongoing project here at the forum that tracks, basically any rulemaking that the federal agencies put out that has some sort of quantified cost or paperwork estimate to it. It's basically, my day-to-day, one of my main tasks is going through the Federal Register and pulling out rules that have some sort of economic estimate attached to them, and we plug into RegRodeo and update each week, and it gives the public a chance to look at kind of the totality of rules going back to 2005.
Yeah, so then, the site was created back?
So the formalized site came to be in about 2015 or so. It was actually a project kind of before that was more sort of week to week. But yeah, we've had sort of this more centralized site, and now we've updated recently.
Yeah. So it was in need of an update. So back in May, the two of us sat down and we said, okay, what do we need? What's missing? How can we make this better? Brought in our graphic designer. She gave us some great things. So what's new about the site?
So obviously if you have been to in the past week or so, you'll notice, a new layout with hopefully sort of crisper graphics to it, and also some more sort of interesting user interfaces to it. Also, you'll see, the old site was focused primarily on RegRodeo itself, the database itself. You'll see with this one, we have more actual analysis embedded into the content there. You'll have links to our regulatory policy work over the years, as well as more sort of relevant things like things on the Congressional Review Act. Probably the most important update, though, is in sort of the overall shareability of the information there. We have the opportunity now to, if you come across a rule that you find interesting that you want to highlight for folks, either because it's some massive regulatory burden or if it's some massive deregulatory action, you can share that now on social media. Also, part of the website is you kind of are able to search through years and agencies and industry focuses, and you come up with your own database there within the website. Previously, that was all you kind of had. You now have the opportunity to export some of that data to a spreadsheet that you can use for yourself for either your own analysis or if you want to share with folks or whatever you want to care to do with it.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, it's the shareability part for me as being the digital guy here was very important. The graphics look just so much better in my mind. Not just more up to date. Cleaner, crisper, like you said. So it's great. So what's some of the information that sort of what the data that can show us?
So one of the things is if you go through it, you can flip it from, you get the top lines that you have at the very top are going to be the final rule totals. But we also include proposed rule data, at least for rules going back to 2011 or so. But that's one of the things that's going to be interesting going forward here is, we've seen sort of some level, this deregulatory effort in this first year of the second term of Trump. A lot of that, though, hasn't become final yet. And so what you're seeing in the past few months here, and seeing more and more, especially coming out of the shutdown now, agencies are back online and going through some of these actions. You're seeing more proposed rules involved with those efforts. And so I think one of the things to really follow along with is some of these big proposed rules. I think you just had yesterday, the administration had the big announcement of the new CAFE standards rule. That it's basically fuel efficiency standards. They're pulling those back somewhat, and so that's one of the larger sort of deregulatory actions of late. But again, it's only proposed rule. I think we would expect it to come final maybe with the next year or so. But they need to put it out to the public. Public has a chance to submit comment. Agency needs to go back and review those comments, and if there's something that significant that comes up in those for whatever reason, it's something they need to address, or otherwise folks could challenge it in court.
Yeah, interesting. Well, Dan, thanks for coming on and talk about that. It's been great working with you on this project, and I hope people out there enjoy the new product, use it, and of course we'll the link to the website will be in the show notes, and people can go and look at it and peruse it at their own leisure.
That's the point.
All right, thanks, Dan.
Thank you.